Okay, so this video is about the question of receiving, why perhaps you find it difficult to receive and easier to give. And I'm going to be talking about how sexual alchemy plays into healing this imbalance and how this is playing out in your world as well. So, when we say that we want love, when we say that we want more intimacy, we say that we want more money, we want more opportunities, we want more freedom. When we say this out loud, what our body might actually be doing is contracting, freezing up, tightening. And this comes from a fear place, usually unconscious. And what we're actually doing is pushing what we want away. And the reason for this is because receiving, it requires us to soften. It requires us to fully let go and surrender to how something comes in. It requires us to be in absolute vulnerability. And it requires us to have balance between the masculine and the feminine within. And I'm going to talk about that and why this is key to manifesting. So if you think about how you've grown up and the way in which everything has been controlled, has been systemized, this comes from a belief that it is the system, it is the structure that creates the safety, rather than the safety simply being that you are. And this has created a society where we have to hold more, we have to prove more, we're constantly pushing, and there always has to be somebody, something in power, and everybody's fighting for that power. When you move off grid, when you come and live in the way that I live, you suddenly realize that this is ridiculous. You know, nature has everything that we need. Everything is in abundance. Nothing is forced in nature, and everything in nature is in flow. Nothing is depleted. Everything gives back. But there's, a rite of passage that comes with living this way. You have to flow into those rhythms. You have to surrender to whatever that rhythm is, whatever season it is in, right? And instead, we want to push and we want to force. I was laughing today as I was cleaning out the dehydrating toilet, right? It's my most hated job living in this tiny house. I love this tiny house, but I miss the fucking flush, right? I miss the flush. You understand why these things come from, very natural and in flow with nature, to wanting to wrap a system that makes it more comfortable, that makes it more efficient, that makes it easier. But what we do is we take away the knowledge that we have to do anything, to create anything. We've effectively become lazy, and we've created all this work for ourselves. And this is now how society is surviving. Everybody's working to keep these systems alive. And the working is killing us, right? This is why people like me pull out of that worker bee society and come back to the land, come back to nature, come back to creative power, come back to love. It's beautiful, and you see everything differently. Now, how does all of this pushing, forcing, holding the power play into sex and your relationships and your intimacy, in money, in your business, in how you love? It plays into us never fully receiving any of it, not all that there is to receive. Because we how do I put this? We say we fear failure, right? We're pushing, we're forcing, we're holding, we're wanting the power because we're afraid of failing. I used to say that we're afraid of succeeding. We're afraid of the greatest version of ourselves. But we're also afraid of the surrender that it takes to get there. We're afraid of letting go, which is crazy because everything's divinely orchestrated. Again, this journey has taught me that just relax, because everything has a higher plan. Everything's unfolding perfectly, right? Just let go. but it's the hardest thing in the world to do in practice, because surrendering means letting life hold us, trusting that we will be held. It means going through all the conditioning that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy enough, and all the conditioning that support isn't there without pushing and forcing and holding everything together in systems and structures. And the extra layer that we have to weave into this is the layer of the divine feminine, the way in which the divine feminine hasn't been trusted to be as the divine feminine is, which is the flow, the creation, the current. The divine feminine has been deeply disrespected. And so the divine feminine within all of us doesn't feel safe. Receiving is feminine. It goes beyond lying back, thinking of England, receiving your man. It's so beyond that. It is, we see receiving as weak or less powerful. This is coded now. This is coded within us. And for women, for me, in my journey, this has played out as me disrespecting myself, losing my own sense of self-respect. And for men, it creates this deep, usually unconscious, unspoken disrespect of women and of the feminine, both outside, like I say, women, but within themselves as well. And so both stay locked in control with this big energetic wall up to this beautiful abundance that is waiting for us, to this deep, unimaginable love, unable to soften, unable to receive. And, for some people, this has come from trauma. Yes, there's this cultural, thing, but maybe you've been through something where a woman has misused their power, maybe, and a common one is the mother, right? If you are a child and you look to your mother for love, for that nourishing, and it's not there, you begin to misjudge, misread that love, that nourishment as being for subsistence instead of just being there in overflow. And your nervous system, more importantly, learns that this softening equals danger. And so control enables survival. So even when love is right there, right? Even when abundance comes knocking at the door, it's going to feel at arm's length. It's going to stay at arm's length because the body hasn't yet learned that surrender is safe and that energetic wall can't come down. I realized yesterday, as I walked in the forest, I took myself into the forest. I actually took some mushrooms, and I wanted to connect into some stuff that has been coming up for me and to understand it more deeply, to clear it. And I realized just, not that I hadn't seen this before, but actually this particular area in the forest reminded me of the way in which I've allowed myself to be disrespected by men, where I wasn't fully honoring my divine feminine. And so all reality can do is mirror that back to you, right? Now I feel so different, so much stronger in that divine feminine power, which the paradox is that I am softer. And I did find myself wondering as I wandered through that forest yesterday, what love will feel like, what intimacy will feel like, what making love will feel like in this whole new way of being. And then I guess, spirit came in this morning as I was listening to some affirmations and really checked in that I was ready to receive that love. Because for the first time in, weeks of listening to these same affirmations, I questioned, am I just hearing them in the mind? Am I just, repeating them in my mind, or am I actually feeling them in my body? Am I embodying what I'm asking my mind to believe? And I did. I realized that in some way, they're still just words. They're not fully embodied yet. And until they are, love will stay at arm's length for me as well. And I don't want that, because what I've seen in this softening, what I've seen in this shifting is the manifestation of so much more love, of so much more love in my life in all forms. And none of it is forced. None of it is chased. None of it is even asked for. It just is. It's beautiful. It's abundance. So I realized my rite of passage, especially in this eclipse, this eclipse energy right now, if you're watching this now, the 8th of September, I think it's the 8th of September today, it's asking us to see what we haven't seen, and it's asking us to release it. It's really deeply, almost going into darkness so that the light can switch on, and we can see, right? We can see what we haven't been seeing previously. And I've been experiencing this in my meditation this morning on the beach, again, not that I hadn't seen this before, but it came to me. It's like the moon is stirring these memories, these illuminations. I was suddenly so aware of the distance in my marriage. I'm separated now, but I've been single, if I look at it, for years, maybe 10 years, because there was no intimacy, there was no togetherness, there was no companionship, right? And what I realized is that because as my self-respect grew, my partner couldn't honor that divine feminine in me because of his own imbalance, right? And what I was remembering was in the deepest place of the divine feminine, where I was literally creating life, I was giving life, I was breastfeeding, I was nurturing, I was loving. That was when he was most distant. That was when he took himself off to the couch, masked it up as needing sleep, as being uncomfortable. But yeah, no, that was discomfort at a whole different level that he couldn't see consciously. He was struggling to trust the feminine current. And I saw that in lots of other ways too. Now I can see how that played out. Again, the more I shone my light, the more I allowed myself to be me, the more creative I got, the more he was afraid. He was afraid that I would be humiliated. That came from him, from his wounds, from his lack of trust of the divine feminine, who is the creator. She is the creator because she simply is, right? That's the role of the feminine energy, the feminine power. But it doesn't do that in isolation. It does that in partnership with the masculine. But the masculine has to be in balance as well, able to soften, able to receive, able to surrender. Because his own masculine energy is the structure that holds that all together, right? This is the balance, the masculine feminine balance. The human body becomes this container for creation because the masculine energy holds, is devoted to the divine feminine's love. And this love flows, this love creates. Those energies weaving together create a third energy. Creation is born, whatever that looks like. But in imbalance, the masculine is withdrawing, withholding, protecting, protective, stepping in, trying to fix things, trying to solve problems, trying to discharge this beautiful energy that the masculine has to keep things safe, right? And in doing this, the masculine's hovering on the edges of love, not fully merging. Again, that is the role, is to merge, is to be one, to be in union, unity. The mind is where the fear is. The mind is the separation. The mind refuses to immerse fully in devotion. And so love stays surface level. Abundance stays just at arm's reach. Maybe you have some wins, maybe things begin to shift, but it's not this full fucking fireworks, right? It's not overflow, because overflow is only going to come in unconditional giving, in not believing that there is a divide in power, in not believing that one holds power over the other. It comes from dissolving into the deepest love, which brings the kind of ascension that only union can bring. So, sexual alchemy, that's what it's doing. It is teaching us the practice of softening in practice in the body. It is teaching us that receiving is not passive, that it is magnetic. It is teaching us that giving fully does not deplete us. It is devotion. When masculine and feminine currents meet fully, without fear or withholding, the union creates this alchemical fire that begins to burn within, transmuting all that survival energy locked in the sacral into ecstasy, transmuting separation into wholeness and body into spirit. This is what the ancients knew. This is why sexual alchemy was revered, why women were devoted to, were treated like the goddesses that we are, why I remembered that I am a goddess, that I deserve that reverence, that I deserve that devotion. And that begins with me. That begins within me. And so I, in my practice of sexual alchemy, have been able to change how I relate to power, how I relate to safety, and how I relate to creation itself. So we're going to embody this right now. You are going to place one hand on your heart space, one hand on your womb space. You're going to take a deep inhale right from your root. And as that energy ascends, I want you to feel the feeling of the words, I am safe to receive. As you exhale, I want you to soften your shoulders and your jaw and your pelvis. You might even want to make a noise. Just let everything go. And see what happens. See, as I've let go of the tension, my body wants to move. We're going to allow the body to move. And with each exhale, letting go even more into each of the areas of tension that you notice in your body as you inhale. Allow the movement to be spiraling like a serpent. Find those areas of tension on the in-breath and let them go on the exhale. You can do this practice for anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes, however long it takes to just really get the body loose, relaxed. I read the other day that our jaw is actually a mirror of our pelvis. So when we're tight in our jaw, it's actually a mirror of the fascia in the pelvis. And obviously the pelvis is the container for the creative energy, the life force. And so if it never gets a chance to move, if it never gets a chance to rise, then there is no alchemy, right? There's no fire, there's no burning through all of these blocks, stagnant energy. And this is where we get stuck in our loops. We're trying to use talking therapies, coaching, counseling to get shifts to happen. without, when all we need to do is work more deeply within, allow the true feminine energy to express itself, to do its job, to allow the masculine energy to do what it is here to do, which is simply to be the container. Doing has also been distorted. Doing has been, turned into action, but doing in this masculine feminine balance is simply awareness. It is like the roots of a tree, right? The awareness, the observation of what is happening outside, but the ability, the self-mastery to stay balanced within. And you'll notice as you do this practice that it does feel like you are being held by the universe itself. You might feel the stir of your sexual energy, those little orgasmic bubbles, right? As you move that energy, as you bring that energy into flow. And the key here is to not discharge that energy, but to use it, to channel it into creation, to channel it constructively, to be in this state of ecstatic bliss. This is why people take MDMA. This is why, MDMA is being used to make people happy, is because in that ecstasy, you say yes to life. Your inhibitions go away, your second guesses, your hesitations. But it all comes from respecting the feminine energy. It all comes from receiving with devotion, which starts within you. The micro moments of your day where you choose love over fear in every way, in every word, in every movement, in everything you put in your mouth, in every conversation that you have, in every action that you take, in every place that you go. Sexual alchemy teaches you this. It teaches you the deepest consciousness. It is the most powerful thing that I have ever embraced. And while, yes, I will say it out loud, there is a part of me that is still afraid to receive. I respect my own feminine current now more deeply than I ever have. And sexual alchemy healed that. It rewired my body to feel safe in surrender. It turned my survival instinct into my creative power. And my whole business is different because of that. My whole life is different because of that. And it transformed all those areas that I was holding back into the expression that is now magnetic. If this has spoken to you, I have, number one, put some journal prompts down in the description. So make sure that you go and you maybe read them, try them. Below them is an invitation to my Quantum Leap portal where you can do more of the somatic practice that we just did. But if you're ready to walk this path fully, I've just relaunched my book, Awaken Your Miracle Frequency. It is easier than you think to have it all. It has nearly $400 worth of frequency medicine bonuses that are all working in energetic practice in your, I call them the alchemical gateways. I'm going to put a link to that and the discount for the relaunch, the coupon, in the description as well, as a thank you for watching this video. And remember, softening doesn't make you lose power. It's the moment that you become magnetic. So if you're in that position where maybe it is tough to make money, maybe it does feel like life is hard, that challenges just keep coming, that you don't have the things that you want to experience, this is the key to the door of letting love all the way in. My name is Sola, aka the Millionaire Sha'woman. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, drop me a like, drop me a comment, and make sure you subscribe to more juicy videos like this. Thank you.